this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no
a
one.
second.
Oh, no.
We return to our planet. The High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin. This is Kotobukijake.
Hi.
We're here to celebrate Halloween. We've got a lot of scary treats.
Join us.
Maybe a little bit of tricks for you. So we're going to do this as a two-parter. Unfortunately for us filming it, it's going to be a one big parter where we go through every anime in my collection that could have sort of a Halloween adjacent or a horror tone that you could possibly watch and enjoy out of the season.
Not everyone, but quite the majority.
Most of the ones in the collection. I mean, there's another one over there, Beelzebub. There's another one.
Oh, you didn't pull Beelzebub?
Oh.
Okay. I've only seen a couple episodes. Anyway.
But again, yes, there's going to be some that I have not pulled for either reasons of saving time because we've already got a huge pile,
Right.
or just because it's there. Like Beelzebub is one of them. That's that kind of a fun
And
one.
we discussed Magical Girl Raising Project because of its reputation is pretty horrifying, but we haven't seen it, so.
Yeah. So let's just get started.
Yes.
So I'm going to get started with some NIS stuff today, and then we're going to pause and I'll put stuff back, and I'll pick it up, pause, put stuff back. It's going to be a lot of that.
Nice?
So the first thing up here I've got is Natsume's Book of Friends. Now this is kind of cool here. You've got like seasons 1 and 2 in this premium edition for NIS. You can still, from what I recall, buy the standard edition.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I have. I have the standards. I was not fortunate enough to.
3.
Yep.
Beautiful artwork.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, they never put the premium of season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, did they?
No.
I think the other 2 were Blu-ray, though.
Oh, I can take a look in a minute, actually. There it is.
Yeah.
And, yes.
But the sets do go nicely together, though.
And then, of course, there is the separate release of the movie that Aniplex did. Aniplex has been kind of keeping the rights down, which sucks because there are more seasons to this. But we only are down to this and that. That's it.
And, of course, they released that under the proper title, which is Natsume Yujincho, but it's still the same thing.
So, let's talk a little bit about Natsume's Book of Friends. You've got this guy. He's got his mother has passed away, and he moves back into the place where she was at, and you find out that she has this book of demons where she was just collecting the names of these demons.
I believe it was his grandmother who was
the grandmother.
It was the grandmother who was the collector.
It's been a while since I've watched it.
Yeah.
And now he has to go to each of these demons and get their information. As I re-edit, yeah, there it goes. In order to try and just give the names back. He's trying to free these demons. And he's being helped by this cat creature.
He's on the shoulder
which
there.
is, right there. And that's his more fearsome form.
Well, he has the cat on his shoulder on the back here.
Yep, there you go. That's the less fearsome form.
The cat he's great. He's a great character.
But he's one in the book for himself, but is willing to accompany him for that. So that's one. Next is one that borrows from the Lovecraftian universes, and that is Nairuko
Crawling with Love.
Crawling with Love. I want to say this is season 1.
Yes. That's the set I do not have.
And of course, this has this. This is a magical girl series.
Yeah.
But it's got the Cthulhu mythos as the background. So you've got kind of, it's a harem magical girl with Cthulhu-esque characters in it. And
Because reasons.
Yeah, because reasons. And a lot of them are cutesy Cthulhu characters that, everybody loves. Everybody loves Cthulhu. And did you get to watch this one?
Not yet.
Oh, that's good.
I have that set, but I have the standard of season 1 because they're both way out of print. And they never did a standard of season 2.
Actually, while I'm doing this, I'm going to just do some ratings here. Out of 5 stars, what would you rate Natsume's Book of Friends as far as being something that you would want to watch during the Halloween season?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I've only seen season 1, and I interrupted my watch through a long while back, and this could give me an excuse to restart it.
So what would you
But
say?
Under normal circumstances, I'd say maybe a 3 at most.
I'd say that's
It's more Halloween adjacent than anything.
I agree.
And it's mostly because it's about all these yokai. Basically, it's not so much that it's at all horrifying.
How about...
Haven't seen it.
Just based on reputation.
Based on reputation, maybe a 2.
Yeah, I'd say that would be about right with me as well. I'm not sure I would consider it super Halloween-y.
Right.
Now, speaking of disappointments...
But, more appropriately, Halloween-y.
Yes.
This is a full-on murder
We've got-
mystery horror.
Umaneko, When They Cry, which is a spin-off series from the When They Cry series. Also game-ified. A rather interesting one. More of a murder mystery than a
Yeah,
straight out.
think more Agatha Christie than like full-on horror.
But everybody's life is on the line at this point. So it's definitely worth a check on.
And it has definitely some legit horror elements. Kick-ass opening number with a choral background that really gives you that horror vibe out of the gate. But unfortunately, the most horrifying thing about this series is the whole thing is building to the confrontation between these two. And they finally have it. And that's the end of the series. They square off, and then that's the end of the series. Go play the game.
So what do you think? As far as this being something that you would recommend people to dig into for Halloween?
If they either have the game or they're willing to be disappointed by the ending, it's a full-on 5 for Halloween viewing.
I'd say a 4, but only because it's not quite horrific enough, but it definitely has a lot of elements there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap up this segment, and we're going to separate each segment by a little, with some other stuff that doesn't quite fit. And this is one that's kind of seen better days, this Witch Hunter Robin set.
It was a cool-looking set.
It's got some little pins on the back. But essentially, it's been forever. I considered the series boring. But Robin Senna arrives in Japan to begin her work as a witch hunter. As part of the STNJ, she will work with others in bringing witches to justice. But as the story unfolds, Robin is forced to confront some very ugly truths about her coworkers, the organization she works for, and even herself. The lines between good and bad, friend and foe, and human and witch are all called into question. Can Robin's power shine a light into the darkness that threatens to engulf them all? Can she? But this is one that I'd probably say is pretty apt for the season. I'd give it a 3.5, mainly because I just got bored by it, so I'm not sure that's the best thing to have for that. but does definitely feel very Halloween-y. What would you say, Jake? Just based on the synopsis.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, and I know relatively little about it other than what he just read, so it sounds like it's worth at least a 2.
So, now I'm going to go into another book,
Yeah.
which is Tweeny Witches. Now, this is a series that is about these little girls who can use magic, and one particular one that goes to the world of witches, which she's not supposed to be in. And things get very scary there. The art style is very unique, very strange. It's got some Harry Potter-esque turns, except it's a bit darker, a little bit more sinister. I would say this is probably my first 5, straight out. Because not only is the series really enjoyable, but it's got that dark and scary nature to it, without being incredibly dark and scary. I'd say it's be considered a dark version of Worst Witch, maybe, or one of the later entries on this. And it definitely has a lot of monsters and a lot of creepy crawlies that would go well with the spooky season. So, what are your thoughts on the series?
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to be saying this a lot, but I haven't seen it. But based on what you said and what I know about it, I feel confident that it's worth at least a 3. It is one I want to see.
Well, that's section 1. We're going to be back for yet another section right now. All right, so we're back. So we're doing this in 3 parts. So this is the second half of part 1.
All right.
We got a long sleeve to go through, so let's get started.
Woohoo!
So as I give them over, I'll just have you run them over and just file them real quick for me.
Okay.
So the first one's at the very front of my section, which is hentai. And that is, I'm just going to do the front because the back is not quite appropriate, which is Mystery of the Necronomicon. So, for those of you who want something with a little bit of spice and everything nice, let's see here. A mad scientist is taken prisoners for a terrifying occult ceremony. His lust for perversion will unleash a forbidden magic and raise the dead. A private detective will expose his shameful secret, but knowledge may come too late to save the innocent. Since this is unseen and I don't really know this commodity, I would say this will probably be a 2 for now.
Yeah.
But maybe more in the future.
Seems appropriate. I
All
know
right.
there are some who would find this prospect quite horrifying.
If you'll just run that over
Where
there, it's
do you
right at the
have-
very beginning of the anime section.
Okay.
Like, very beginning.
Very beginning.
Yeah, you can even see Kite Uncut sitting there.
Ah,
Yep.
yes.
So this next one, I think that one of our friends, Roger, would find this horrifying just because of its existence. And that is the Mech Masters Explosive Anime Classics Collection. Now, why is that in here, you might ask? Well, you've got MD Geist and Genocyber in it, and Cybernetics Guardian. Now, MD Geist is kind of horrific. A lot of it is the old school gore, and a lot of it is also kind of that disturbing machine man hybrid stuff. So this has a very disturbing edge.
Ugh.
I'm sure if you like stuff like House of a Thousand Corpses and so on, you'll probably like this stuff. And if you like mechs, and you don't mind guts and gooey guts, you probably would like this. So, to me, again, I think this is more Halloween adjacent, so I'll give it a 2. But it looks like it's going to be fun. I know you know about the reputation of these.
Vaguely.
Oddly enough, this is actually a valuable set, and it's not even open, makes it more valuable.
So, okay, remind me again, are we rating this more on...
On reputation, what you think it would be?
Well, I mean, on what its value as a Halloween film or its value to me as a Halloween viewer?
Its value in general as a Halloween film. Because your thought to yourself, but also to those viewers out there.
Because my personal interest is minimal. But it seems to me, based on what you said, that it's probably worth a 2 for general listing.
I just realized that I am definitely not in the right place for that one. Okay.
Okay.
Because I was having some of that stuff mixed up. I was going to cause
Yeah.
problems. You run that over.
Run it over. I'll run it over. Exactly.
Now, one of the ones that I know is going to get some people a little bit up in arms because it's a boot.
What's it a blue?
But this is the Rumiko Takahashi OVA collection. Now, I know Jacob would agree with me that Amaris the Chojo is extremely appropriate for Halloween. I mean, no, I'm just... that there are a lot of actual ones there. Amaris is probably the exception.
Yeah.
Maris and One Pound Gospel are the two exceptions. Really, all the others, Fire Tripper is iffy, but the other three, the two mermaids, Mermaid Forrest and Mermaid Scar, exceptionally horrific about these two immortal people. They're immortal because they ate mermaid flesh, but you could also just die instantly or turn into a monster if you eat it, and then die a horrible death. So, those two are very creepy. And then Laughing Target is even creepier because it's about this kind of demon woman who is having a kind of very nasty relationship with the guy she wants to marry. What was it? Fatal Attraction type stuff.
Right.
So,
Fatal Attraction meets The Exorcist.
I would say
Not
this is
quite,
at least a 4 for me, maybe even a 5 when it comes to those three. What do you think?
Well, I'm not sure that you can rate that collection as a whole since you made that collection yourself.
Just as those three things together as a...
I mean, for me, if I were to do them individually, I would say probably a 3 for Fire Tripper, a strong 4 for Mermaid Forest, maybe a 5, and Mermaid Scar and Laughing Target, absolutely 5s, there's no question. So if I were rating it on a whole, maybe 4. Yeah.
True horror classics right there.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, where do you have this one?
All right, so that's right next to, right in that same section, because that's where I put compilations.
Okay.
All right. So, I'm not going to be dwelling on everything I've got of this series, because we'll be here a while.
Right.
But Bleach definitely does have a Halloweeny vibe. And the movies especially are good one-offs.
Well,
the series
the
is
first movie is.
there. So, I mean, this one definitely is a good one-off introduction to it. Memories of Nobody. But you also have the Diamond Dust Rebellion, which is... I mean, you gotta know the characters a little bit for that.
You have to have watched some of the show to get the second movie. I haven't seen 3 and 4.
Fade to Black, pretty decent. But my favorite of them is between Memories of Nobody and Hellverse. Because Hellverse, really, you're dealing with hell directly. And that's pretty cool. I mean, you're talking about people who are literally playing Grim Reapers. The heroes are Grim Reapers, essentially, and they're working with the afterlife, and they're taking down monsters in the afterlife. That's pretty close to Halloween. But if you really want the series, there is the series. You can just get the first 3 seasons. I think on Blu-ray it's even like just 2 things if you want to do that. And then you're done. I mean, there's more to it, I guess, but we don't acknowledge that. So, you've seen enough of Bleach to get at least a decent idea. What would you say it rates as a Halloween viewing?
I would say, yeah, if we were rating Memories of Nobody as a one-off, that's a pretty solid one. I'd probably give it a 4 or so. The rating it as a whole brings down the rating, if only because then you're watching so much and not all of it good. But I would say maybe 3 overall.
Okay, well, that works well.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said,
Okay.
enjoy. The series goes next to where... yeah. All right, and meanwhile, I'm going to be bringing out these things because there is more to it. Don't go away. Don't look too much. That's Corpse. Let's see, that is the movie. That is... Oh. I can deal with that. And I am looking for... Oh, there it is. Do-do-dum. So, we're going to be running into this series a lot. And I'm going to be moving this over to... I think, yeah.
I forgot they did a movie for that.
So, we're going to
For
move
those who
over
are
to
clamoring
this.
for more after the series.
Clamp, which we talked a little bit about with Clamp School Detective, did the art for a very similar series called Blood Sea, which is a take on the Blood Plus or Blood the Last Vampire. They all kind of come around the same. It really just kind of, it has the same character, but waking up at different eras and having to deal with things. And there's also the movie, The Last Dark. Now, I hate this thing.
Ha!
Especially the series. The movie, it helps wrap up a lot of stuff that I didn't like in the series, so it does help. It makes this a mediocre one. As far as Halloween viewing, there's a lot of gore. It's about a vampire. It's about them taking on vampiric monsters. So, definitely has a lot of the Halloween-y vibe to it. I'd say a 3, only because it's such a chore to get through. What would you say?
Well, I saw, I think, the first episode, maybe. It didn't get too blood spattered in the part that I saw. But I know it by its reputation. It sounds like it would probably be not quite a 3 for Halloween viewing. And only if you're a gorehound, from what I hear.
Now, we'll be revisiting Blood a little bit later. Matter of fact, right now.
Oh.
We've got Blood, the Last Vampire. The movie that started it all.
Ha.
And this is actually a pretty good movie. It takes place, I want to say, in the 90s.
I think so.
Where you've got on or near an American military base in Japan. And it shows...
In Okinawa, if I remember.
And it shows her fight... of course, her first fight with the vampires. And it's kind of cool. I really did like this one. It had some cool effects. I think it's overrated a little bit, but I do feel like it is a good one. And whereas I thought this one was more of a 3, Blood Sea, I'd say this one is definitely a 4. It fits well with the holiday. It's not overly long, so it's not going to take up a lot of your time. It's only 50 minutes.
It's short.
So I think that if you want something like quick for it's Halloween-y, this is a good way to go. What do you think?
It's a good one. From what I remember, it was more action than horror.
Yeah.
But it was good.
But definitely horror elements to it.
Yeah. And I could go with a 4, like probably a weak 4, but yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
And of course, one of them is a series.
Oh yeah.
So, well, I go over to my next one, which is a debatable one because it's got some American work with it. But I think that it is going to be one that we'll both agree on somewhat. And that is the film Dante's Inferno. Based off the video game. Now, this kind of is a spin off of the Divine Trilogy, where Dante's Inferno is one of the books. And he has to journey into hell in order to try and get his love. And, well, I had the main serious reason why I was...
Well, that specifically, I think, would be a good one.
So, you know, because I've got the others that are still season 2 and then all the other stuff over there, too. But, yes, this one, I think, has a lot of good horror elements. It's not the best animated. It's okay. But, I think it's worth a check out. I think it's a good 3 for the season. It's kind of like a action slash fest, and if you like looking at visions of hell, that's not so bad. What do you think? An animated version of Dante's Inferno.
Strangely enough, that's one that my family has seen that I don't think I saw much of it. I saw a little bit. From what I know of this, it's probably worth a 3.
All right. So next up, we have Dark Cat.
Huh.
Ooh. I've heard very bad things about this. So, Hyoi and Ryoi are two warriors from another world. They have been sent to Earth to stop Jukokubo, a demon out to destroy humanity, as Dark Cats. The brothers possess superhuman powers. Rather than oppose them directly, Jukokubo uses his evil energy to unleash the dark side of the human heart. Hyoi and Ryoi's classmates are soon reduced to organic killing machines, gruesomely devouring everyone nearby. Alright, so definitely a lot of that horrific nature to it that you see in a lot of these earlier Japanese anime movies. Only 60 minutes worth of gore, though. And I've heard some bad things about it, about how terrible it is. So I want to watch it because it's so bad it's good type feeling. And I haven't seen it, so I got to give it... I'll give it a 3 because it sounds like it's going to be like a wild ride, like a Wicked City type wild ride. So what do you think?
Well, it doesn't sound very appealing. It might be worth a 2 based on that description. I'm sure it's at least that Halloween.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Let me see if it is in... It's down here.
What are we looking for?
Yeah. There we go. I'm trying to get the movies and the series together. So, let's talk Death Note.
Okay.
Alright, I'm done. Essentially...
That's all I have to say about
It's
that.
got some elements to it that are horror adjacent, but it's a lot to dig into, especially if you want to do a lot of horror stuff.
Well, it's got Shinigami just like
Yeah.
Bleach does, but they're a very different type of Shinigami. Much lazier in this version.
And essentially, this guy gets a hold of this book from the Shinigami, that if you write the name in it, and, well, basically, if you've written the name in it and you know what they look like, then they can die.
Mm-hmm.
So, that part is very creepy. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of creepiness with some of that stuff. Now, I think that the best way to enjoy this series is through these.
Really?
Which I like these better. Which is the Relight ones. Which only takes it just a slight bit over. I like these only because they complete the story in a quick fashion. You don't have to go through nearly as much crap to get there. And if I was to really say how I enjoy this, I would go with the 2 live-action Japanese movies. They did 3, but the first 2 complete the story.
Yeah.
And they decided to change the second half quite a bit.
They changed quite a bit, period.
And I think they did it for the better, in my opinion. I liked it much better than this. But it still has some good stuff. So really, if you want to experience it, I would recommend this. If you want to experience it in long form, you can go with that. And that's all I got to say about that, except for the rating. So, let's see. I'd say a 3. It's got some creepiness in it, but I can't really give it a head over Bleach.
Well, the main thing with Death Note is that far more than Bleach, this is a show for the Hot Topic crowd.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one I could see a lot more people going all out for Halloween for Death Note than for Bleach. And you do have the Shinigami, you do have the weighty good versus evil battle going on with L and Light, and that's the good part of the show is really good.
And apples.
And apples. Apples are a known component of any story about good and evil. I would give Death Note a weak 4.
Alright.
I can't really say I would recommend the Relight over because I generally don't recommend compilations over the series. But yeah, there's enough fluff in Death Note to where it could be the better option for some.
Alright. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. Let's see here. There we go. Okay. Just double checking. Yep. LM. Yeah, I don't think I put any of the series there, which is good. Alright, so here's one that's not... I wouldn't recommend the series at all, except for one saga. And I'm not going to try and get out the series to start with the saga. But it all started with one movie, and that was The Dead Zone.
Huh.
Different Dead Zone than what you might think. It's a Dragon Ball Z movie. Actually, I think that's... I want to say it's the first movie? Maybe? Yeah, I think it is the first movie. And this one stars Garlic Jr., which is a vampire that wishes on the Dragon Balls because he wished for immortality. You get to see what happens with that. And this is Goku's first fight with Garlic Jr., and this is probably one of the few movies that can become somewhat canonistic. Not fully, but somewhat, because there's a Garlic Jr. saga later on in the main series. So it's kind of fun in that matter. Except Gohan's more involved in it than Goku in this one. So, what we're trying to check out, I'd say, especially if you want to know where that saga came from, and if you're a Dragon Ball fan, it's really nice. I like this because you get 2 movies in one. That's not so bad.
Yeah.
I would give this one actually a 4 because it specifically tries to be Halloween-like. And Toriyama loves those little things like Frankenstein's and so on. He tried to be Halloween-like. So I gotta give it a 4 for that.
No, never seen it, so... Based on what I know of Dragon Ball, it's hard for me to think Halloween. But I know what you mean. Toriyama does kind of lean into that stuff, so... I'll give it a 3.
Alright. So the next 2 are a part of the Ito trilogy.
Okay.
Which is Genocidal Organ and Empire of Corpses. We talked about Empire of Corpses earlier. And Genocidal Organ, I don't think we talked about that one. But this is sort of like horror elsewhere. I want to say in space. After a homemade bomb decimates Sarajevo, developed countries rely on advanced surveillance to free them of the threat of terrorism. While the United States enjoys heightened security, the nations it once considered threatening are mysteriously plagued by genocide within their own borders. Strangely, these massacres all link back to one American by the name of John Paul. And Ringo. But,
It might be John Paul Jones.
these I've heard are good enough horror, but they're untested. I've also kind of heard that they're almost closer to the Hellraiser type of horror. So I can't really say whether they're Halloweeny or not. I do know that they're horror-esque, so I'll give it a 2.
Well, I have heard not good things about this one, and relatively little about this one. But based on your description last time, that one sounded promising. I think I can probably... This one I could easily give a 2, I think. This one... It sounds more like sci-fi, paranoid thriller than horror. Maybe. So I'm going to go 1 for now.
Until we see them.
Yeah.
Now the next one is a 5 for me, which is Kakorenbo, Hide and Seek. I like to watch this every year because it's short. It's like 30 minutes. And it is creepy. You have got these kids who have been told that if they go around this certain place and play hide and seek at night, something strange happens. People tend to get spirited away. So why you want to do it, I don't know. But I guess these kids do want to die, so they all get together and they play hide and seek, and bad things happen. And a lot of it's that they're trying to find one of their own that got spirited away. So this is it's creepy. It has a creepy ending. I really like this one. It's probably one of my go-tos every Halloween.
It's a good one. And yeah, I can go 5. That was a pretty creepy little movie.
And an easy one to get out knocked out,
And
too.
it's very Halloween-y in its vibe, yes.
So this next one is more of a thriller than a scary movie, but does have some creepy elements to it. So I thought, hey, this might not be a bad idea.
Plus, it was the obvious inspiration for one of the most horrifying movies I've ever seen.
And that is Satoshi Kon's
Satoshi Kon, yes.
film Perfect Bill. Blue.
Perfect Bill.
Perfect Bill. Yep.
It is horrifying.
And Perfect Blue is about this group of singers. And they are, well, essentially ending their time.
Is this where this one goes?
It should go near where genocidal organ is, but it could have been that something was shoveled in there. But just slide it over on the top and I'll figure it out. But essentially, when they separate and one of them goes out to work on her own, some of the fans don't seem to be having it. And she starts to question her own sanity as time goes on, as she's being stalked and harassed. It is a pretty good, well, not pretty good, it is an insanely good one. I'm not sure if it's a Halloween film, but it certainly is intense, and it certainly is scary in pieces, and it has inspired some Halloween-y live-action stuff. So I would give this a 3.
Yeah, it's really more of a thriller than a horror. But definitely the psychological horror elements are there. And this is a very creepy and disturbing movie. I would say even on a Halloween scale, I could give it a solid 4. It is a great film.
Let's see here. So this next one is Magi Madoka Magica. So
Puella Magi.
Puella Magi Puella Magi Magica. I did not bring the series on, though I have it. I would prefer just to show off the movies because they're easier to deal with. So yeah, be careful when those get too close to there because I need to put one of those things to keep them from falling over. But I'll do that after this is done. So instead I brought the movies because the first 2 movies cover the series and the third one goes a step further. It does a couple of different steps, but it does capture it for the most part. Essentially, it's a magical girl series with a slightly dark twist. We have a discussion on it if you want to hear all the spoilers, but I'm not going to spoil it to you entirely because if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. Sans spoilers. Get it. There is a fairly decent deal on these as a set, so you might even be able to get that cheaper than getting the series and get most of what you're looking. You can
definitely get the movies cheaper than the series if you buy a box set.
So, that way you can see it all. But if you want to see it in an episodic group, which is fine, it's really good as one, I would go and check it out. But this one, it's more the creepy vibe. Again, I'll give it a 3, as it's definitely trying, but it's not quite Halloween-y.
I would, in contrast to what I just said about Death Note, there you were basically taking a 52-episode series and cramming it into 2 movies that were, like an hour and 20 or something like that. These movies, if I remember, are 2 hours even.
Yeah.
And it's a 12-episode series. If you watch the 2 movies, yes, it's an abridged version, but you don't notice it the way you normally do.
It goes really well.
And I would say, again, this one definitely, while it may not scream Halloween, it has a strong, creepy vibe. And with all the talk of witches and all the horror that the girls are going through, I'd give it a solid 4.
Now, my next one is going to be something obvious. Maybe not so obvious that it's easy to work on. And that is the Resident Evil movies. Now, we'll see Resident Evil come back in a later part. But in here, we have Resident Evil Vendetta, Damnation, and Degeneration in this set here. All three of them are CG, but they're all Japanese. These are probably the closest to a legit Resident Evil video game related movie. These relate very well to the games, and I would say they're well worth your time to watch them if you like Resident Evil. And they go very well with the season. You've got zombies, you've got monsters. I mean, this definitely falls very well with the horror in the season. I give it a 4 because it's not directly Halloween-y, but damned if it's not really right there with the horror. I play Resident Evil games during this time of year, so seeing the movies like this, most definitely.
Well, I've never seen these either. But I've played some on the game, not much, and I've seen enough based off of Resident Evil to know pretty much what it's on about. And I can agree, they definitely could work as Halloween stuff. Not having seen it, I'd have to give it a week for it best.
Yeah, it depends on how much you would look at,
do that.
at like zombie movies as Halloween.
Right.
So this next one is Ringing Bell. I know. Ringing Bell is incredibly dark. Basically, this lamb gets its parents slaughtered by a wolf, so the lamb decides he's going to train under the wolf to be a wolf himself in order to slay the wolf and get revenge.
As you do.
As you do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, he becomes something that he may not be able to come back from. It is very disturbing.
That's fun.
I would say this could be a 3 for me.
Is this a sequel to that South Park episode with the woodland creatures?
No, but definitely this takes some dark turns that you wouldn't guess by this. This looks more like a little Unico story
Yeah.
than it does that.
Well, to hear some people tell Unico got pretty dark.
But yes, this is very dark. I'll give it a 3.
I'll go with that. I haven't seen it, but now I want to.
So the next one, because of time after this, we will have to wrap this time. But next week we will do the other 2 parts and get those done.
Okay.
So the next one is another adjacent one, which
Very
is
much so.
Shakugan no Shana. This one deals again afterlife, kind of Grim Reaper-ish, like the others. I didn't care for this. I just ended up going ahead and putting it in there because it does have a lot of supernatural related.
And you do have the series over there.
Yeah, I've got one that I just pulled out.
1.
For season 1,
Yeah.
with that beautiful save green on it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
I did not dislike Shauna, but I would not call it very much a Halloween program overall.
I'd say a 1.
Yeah.
It has some basic elements there,
Yeah.
but
That sounds about right. A 1 to maybe a week 2.
we can just hold off if you want, and we can just do the rest of the sorting at the end since we'll end after we get through this row thing.
Makes sense.
So this is the only Miyazaki film I have on here, and that is Miyazaki's Spirited Away. One of these days I gotta get the Blu-ray for this.
Sen Tochihiro no Kamikakushi.
I thought I did have the Blu-ray, but I guess I don't. This one is pretty good. I don't like it as much as you do, but I do think that it does have a lot of good to it. Is basically she gets to go and work at a demonic bathhouse with a bunch of monsters. And
A yokai bathhouse.
Well, monsters. Japanese monsters.
Yeah.
But, and essentially try to win back her parents, who were turned into pigs, in one of the more disturbing scenes I've seen in anime. So, I would say this one has a lot of Halloween-y feel to it. I think it's pretty good for the spirit. I actually would give it a 4.
And it would be one of the better ones for the kiddies, too. So, yeah, I give it definitely a 4. Some of the other Ghibli stuff could have been in the discussion. Totoro, for example, has definitely some, spirit creatures and all that stuff. But
I feel it's more environmental-esque than it is
yeah,
scary, spooky.
well, yeah, this one's got a little more spooky vibe than some of the others.
Speaking of scary, spooky,
There,
we've got Unico and the Island
we
of
were just
Magic.
talking about.
And you've got this kind of witch doll that comes to life and decides it's going to make a castle out of people. They turn into living dolls. It is creepy. It is slightly disturbing. We covered it on our anime thing. For a kid, this was very creepy for me. Unico is this little unicorn that was taken from his mother because the gods are like, nah, screw that, kill him. Well, the North one was like, no, don't kill him. And so she went to go save him. So he gets traveled around until the gods know where he is, and they have to move him. And he gets moved over to this place where it's very creepy, very spooky. I'd say, for kids especially, I would put this as a 4. Maybe even a 5. Just because I think for kids, this would be a perfect one for Halloween to put on.
I'd probably give it a strong 3. But I could see for kids bumping it up to 4. And I don't know if I said Spirited Away. Spirited Away would be a solid 4, but maybe 5 to give the kids something to watch.
For kids.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't want them watching all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Especially some of the stuff coming up.
Yeah.
So,
Another one we have a discussion on. On
Vampire-
movies galore, right?
yep, this is the Vampire Hunter D. This is a Steelbook. I upgraded. I need to do that with the other one. Now, Vampire Hunter D, I think, is very appropriate for the season. It's got a lot of... it kind of mixes the anime tropes of the technologically advanced future, but it also has your traditional vampires in it. And
Vampire Hunters.
yes, and I really do like D and just all of the stuff around it.
And they call him a Dhampir, right?
Yes. And he's like, half vampire, half human, but he's also related to...
And his hand is all sass.
Well, there's a reason why he's called D.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. And this one's a classic. I wouldn't say for children,
No.
but definitely a classic. I would say that this is a straight out 5 when it comes to Halloween anime.
I give it a 4 just because it drags for me.
Well, speaking of ones that don't drag as much, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust.
Yeah.
That one's a lot more actiony.
I enjoyed that one more. But you're right, more action.
But also same feels. Doesn't quite feel the same.
Well, it came out much later, so it's got a more polished feel to it.
This is one of the ones where they came out with the English dub track before they came out with the Japanese. So technically, when you really want to watch it in the Japanese, you're not watching it in the original Japanese. You're watching
Yes,
it in
I
the
am,
Japanese dub. You're watching the dub.
No, I am watching the original Japanese.
Oh yeah, it's the first Japanese track. Well, actually, any Japanese track that's the first one they recorded is the original Japanese track.
Right.
But yes, but technically English is the original language this was meant to be in.
I don't know about meant to be. It was like a co-production.
Yeah, but it was the first one recorded. And it's hard to get the Japanese track because of that.
It's just stupid.
So,
I'm waiting for a proper re-release of that.
for those saying that I want it in the language it was meant to be in originally, well, that's one for you dub people you can actually celebrate.
Again, co-production. It was meant to be released in both. Go ahead.
So, and actually,
Oh,
and
well,
in Japanese
again,
theaters, there was an original release that was in English with Japanese subtitles.
Give it 4.
So, I will give it a 5 because I gave the first one a 5.
Okay.
All right, Wicked City, one that Jacob would love.
Is that so?
This has a lot of creepy crawlies in it. This has a lot of blood, guts, and gore in it. And it is a very wicked city. This is a true horror film. And for those who want something scary and gory, Wicked City is right up your alley. I would say Wicked City is a 4 because for those that you like to watch a gory horror movie on Halloween, this is what you need, my friend.
Well, that automatically drops it to no higher than a 3. I'll give it that. It sounds Halloween-y.
So next up, we've got 11 Eyes.
Ah,
Now, I read the back of this. This is actually somewhat of a classic, but I haven't actually gotten to watch it.
it's alright.
So, let's see here. Raised in an orphanage after witnessing his sister's suicide, Satsuki Kakuro's life has already been dark and cruel enough. However, when he and his friend Yuka are thrown into an alternate dimension called the Red Night, it takes a gruesome turn from bad to horrific. Now trapped, flickering between our world and the Red, Kakuru quickly discovers that he and Yuka are not alone, and that together with the other so-called fragments, they must defeat the malevolent entities known as the Black Knights. This sounds like a kind of a creepy Halloween type thing. I've never seen it. You say you've seen it?
I've seen it. I've forgotten it.
Do you feel like it had a Halloween-y feel to it?
I've forgotten it.
So I'll give it a 2 because I'm not sure. It sounds like it could be.
I mean, based on what little I remember, plus the description, I'd say it's worth at least a 2, maybe a 3. But I can't strongly recommend it because seriously, I have forgotten it. It did not leave a mark in my mind.
Okay. So this next one is the only thing I've seen of this series. I've read the manga, and that is Yu Yu Hakusho, a Poltergeist Report.
That's the only thing I've seen.
Now he is a paranormal detective. He dies in the first episode of the series.
I just remembered one I do have. You don't have. I'll bring it for the next one.
I've also got the entire series, plus the other movie and all that stuff. And this is pretty good. What I've seen. And what I've read. It's more of a shonen type thing, but it deals a lot with demons, a lot with the underworld, a lot with all that stuff. I think you could do worse. I'd put this as a 3. I'd put it on Bleach's level.
Okay.
From what I recall.
From what I remember, Poltergeist Report is a full-on 4, but I haven't seen the series. I'd give it maybe a 3 until I see it.
Well, speaking of the afterlife, this one is definitely not spooky scary, but that is Angel Beats. It is spooky scary how out of print this is.
Yeah, and how insanely the price went up. But yeah, it is about kids who have died way too young, who are in a high school of sorts that's really more of a way station to the afterlife, and their enemy is a girl who is apparently actually an angel. And it's from Ki and Jun Maeda, so you know that it will give you the feels.
Oh, it does.
But it does have some horrifying elements to it. I'd give it probably a 3 for the Halloween.
So I give it a 2 because it doesn't match the spirit of the season for me, but it does have some paranormal stuff, so I will give it the 2.
Well, some people want the feels rather than blood, guts, and gore.
Well, let's talk about more blood, guts, and gore. Let's talk about Angels of Death.
Okay.
I have not seen this series, but I am curious. He swears he'll kill her, just not yet. When Rachel wakes up in the basement of an unfamiliar building, she finds she's lost all her memory, and she tries to escape. She runs into Zack, a scythe-carrying serial killer wrapped from head to toe in bandages. He decides that he will help her, even though he wants to kill everybody. He decides he will help her escape.
Yeah, I heard about this one.
But and he will keep her alive until then. So I've heard there's a lot of spooky, scary stuff in it. I've heard a lot of good things about this series, and I want to see this series, but I haven't seen it yet, so I got to give it a 3.
I'm going to go with 3 too, but it definitely sounds intriguing.
I mean, this person here, that's spooky, scary, and then you got Eisen on the cover.
Yeah. Anything with Eisen has at least some horror added to it.
Now, one I have seen that's also OOP is Another.
Oh, I need to see that.
Essentially, this guy starts off with this classroom of kids, but they are all shunning one character, which is this one with the eye patch. He's like, that doesn't make any sense. And then, slowly but surely, each of his classmates dies one at a time through horrific accidents. It is very Final Destination. Anime has a hard time conveying horror. A very hard time. I am not scared by most of the stuff I've shown you today, but this one does a good job of conveying the horror of at least I'd say this is just as good as the Final Destination films. So if you like that, you will love this. Because this really does feel like a legit horror series, I'll give it a 4. Not a 5 because I don't consider it necessarily Halloween, but definitely it is strong horror.
Have not yet seen it, but based on its reputation, I can give that a strong 3 at least.
Alright, so this one is, well, straight out ghost stories, because this is Ayakashi Samurai Horror Tales. Now this takes various horror tales, and I even got a spin-off series called Mononoke. And each disc kind of hits a different area. With this being the one, the Goblin Cat being the one that Mononoke is from. Very different art styles. Not super scary, but definitely is all about Japanese horror. So these are Japanese horror tales. So it's very appropriate to the season. Because of that, I will give it a 5.
Not having seen it, I'll go with a 3, but it definitely sounds promising.
It's not all that bloody. You can watch that one.
Cool.
Alright, this is one I just found entertaining, but has one disturbing scene that I've seen online constantly, and that is Azazel, which is You're Being Summoned. And this one really is about, from what I recall, is a bunch of people summoning little demons. So you have a stalker you just can't shake, fear your spouse being unfaithful. You might consider hiring Akutabe, a detective who summons demons to do his dirty work. The one thing that I saw that was disturbing is that this one of the demons, you can see it online, where one of the demons curses a woman and turns her slowly into a cow.
Cool.
And it is a very disturbing transformation. But from what I've heard, this is decent. I don't know enough about it to really say, but it definitely looks like it's worth checking out in Halloween. So I would give it a 3.
Cool.
What would you think on?
I don't know enough to comment, but it looks like it's going to be at least a solid 2, maybe a 3.
Well, you'll be able to comment on the last ones that we have.
Yes.
So this next one, I do not have the actual. I just have this loose discs.
Yeah.
Which is Black Blood Brothers. I need to upgrade. I think. Do they have this on Blu-ray? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
This is a vampire series. Essentially, you got your lead vampire, and he's hunting down other vampires who are making mischief with his little brother.
It's basically a turf war in Kowloon, is pretty much what it's about. So, like, you could think vampire gangs almost.
I would put this about at a 3.5 to 4.
Yeah.
It's decent. It's got some Halloween-y stuff to it. It's not super Halloween-y.
No, it's more action-y than anything, but the vampire
It does have
vibe gives
vampires.
it- yeah. So it's a solid 3, pushing 4.
So,
Okay. Now, there's a reason I snagged that one. We'll get to it.
we'll talk to it as
Yeah.
it goes. Each of them have a vibe to them. I mean, this is Black Butler. There's a reason for that.
Tsuji.
He, of
He
course,
is one hell of a butler.
this one kid nearly dies because he's been taken hostage. His family is dead. He's the heir to like this really rich thing. So he ends up making a pact with a demon to get revenge. And he solves mysteries as time goes on with this demon butler at his beck and call. Each one of these has a level. I mean, this, you have like a werewolf, you have various demons, you got a zombie there. You've got quite a few things. The second season has some horror elements as well. And the third season and that OVA, the circus one, has some horror elements That
Well,
haunted
running
circus.
throughout, there's also the theme of the Shinigami in this one as well.
Yes.
I specifically brought over Book of the Atlantic, which is a standalone movie,
A zombie tale.
because it's a zombie tale set on a Titanic-like ship.
Though
And
it does help when you have the background. It tells you the background, but it's easier if you've watched. This first season, I would recommend this season.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take out 2 because
The first season deviated from the manga and painted them into a corner they could not get out of, and so they got out of it for season 2, which should not exist. But the others, Book of Murder, Book of the Circus, and Book of the Atlantic, are individual chapters of the manga put to anime. Yeah.
I would say if you really wanted to, you could actually watch a good portion of this, and you could just say some of the other stuff takes place in between, and you'd be fine.
Some of the other stuff?
You know, Book of
No,
the
they
Land.
come after.
I know, but
you're saying versus the ending. I see.
Yeah.
Because the ending kind of
Just
presages
basically
what's likely to happen.
Yeah, just hold off on the ending, and then move from there. And if you really want to, then you can go on to season 2, and it just gets really awkward.
Then again, if you want to see something truly horrifying, but more because it's awkward.
Now, I'm
Now,
just taking
this one had some awkward stuff in it too.
This is Blood Plus. I have both boxes, but I did not bring the second one out just because.
They're impressive boxes.
This is the expensive one out of the 2. Actually, no, they're both expensive.
They are.
When I got this, box 2 was like $20, and now it's much more expensive.
Yeah, right.
It used to be like $20 new.
You got lucky getting that one for $20. I got lucky getting this one for $20, but it was in horrible shape.
When they originally came out, they were $100 each. I remember the price tag, and I'm going, heck no. But then they made it so that the only way you can get the whole series is by getting these. And they put out some individuals, but the individuals don't even complete what's in this. Yeah. Now, normally there would be a shirt in here, but the shirt was missing. Yeah. Everything else was the same. So I put the first manga there. But you got the blood stuff there. So I'm happy with what I've got there. I mean, again, this is more adventures of our favorite vampire lady. She's kind of infuriating in this more than the others. The only one that she's more infuriating in is C.
They tried to turn her into Luke Skywalker here, and it pissed me off.
But it has a lot of good stuff in it.
Her twin, well, spoiler alert, her twin, Diva, is a fascinating character who's underused. So, but yeah, there's a lot of horror elements in there.
It's a good series, though. I think well worth checking out. But if you haven't, you should check this out and get back with us and tell us what you think. So that's part 1. If you have any other suggestions, of course you can drop them in the comments below. But we're nowhere near done yet. No. Out of the ones we talked to today, do you have any of them that you would say, heck yeah, these would be? Do you think like this one here that I've never seen? Would you say this is a 5 for Halloween?
Yeah.
Would you say Wicked City is actually a 1 because it's it's too gross? I'm sure that Jake would agree with you if that was the case.
Yeah, probably.
But we'll get these other 2 knocked out. This is our Horrorween, which is going to be horror-esque and Halloween-y animes. So we will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.